Hey guys, welcome to this week's episode of Fast Keto. I have Hanna joining us today. She is the diabetes expert and you may follow her, may not, but today we are recapping our experience doing the Low Carb Universe event, which we did last week in Mallorca, and we're going to recap some of our highlights and some of our takeaways from the week because it was such an incredible experience. It was so incredible that I need to live it and re-experience all of it from start to finish with Hanna and share it all with you today, just so that I can feel like I'm getting to re-experience all of it because it was that awesome and amazing. So I'm excited. Hanna's going to be joining us, and she lives in Zurich, which is actually not that far from where we are here in Prague. And Zurich is one of my absolute favorite city, so I'm super jealous that she gets to live there. We try to visit a couple times a year because my husband usually has a conference there, and I just love the old town there and getting to walk around the lake, and it actually reminds me a little bit of home, a little bit of Vancouver, and walking on the seawall there. So it's always fun to get to go there and visit, walk through the old town, which is kind of like this beautiful time capsule, and walking around the lake. And Zurich is just, I mean, all of Switzerland is heavenly, but yeah, Zurich is one of my favorite cities, and I think it's often overlooked. So putting that out there. There's also an amazing burger place there that Hanna told me about, and we went and tried it out last time. I'll have to get the name of it again, but it was so delicious. They do really, really good burgers, a little bit on the pricey end when you're in Switzerland, but one meal. A lot of times we'll go to like food trucks and stuff there to make it super affordable when we're visiting. But it's not like Prague, which is absolutely dirt cheap. Although things are changing here, getting more expensive. It is a lot more moderately priced than a lot of European cities because they are not on the euro, which is really, really cool and awesome advantage if you are visiting and spending money here and doing things. People sometimes are like, how do you eat at all these like fancy places all the time? Why are you always posting, your restaurant meals at like steakhouses and stuff? And I'm like, well, it's really cheap to eat out here because the currency is a lot less than, like, for example, US dollar, Canadian dollar. So we can go out and eat. It's one of the perks of being here is going out to eat costs maybe for us to have a steak dinner around $25, $30 at like a white tablecloth, fancy restaurant, which is really, really cool and one of the advantages of getting to live over here. So it's one of the reasons, many, many reasons I love living over here in Prague. And Zurich is another awesome place that has a huge old town. Prague has a lot of beautiful history, amazing food, and I'm going to end my commercial now all about living over here because we do miss being back home a lot, and especially times like this, holiday times, Thanksgiving was really hard this year. I grew up living overseas, and it's always at the holiday times and those traditional times that you really miss being home the most. And last year, and I think the last few years, we've been back in Colorado for Thanksgiving, and this year we weren't. I had the event in Mallorca, and we're going home for Christmas next month. So we didn't go back this year for Thanksgiving, and last year was, I was telling Pete, was maybe one of the best falls of my entire life. I had my book tour, Keto Essentials, came out on November 11th. I flew back. I went to a gala in Toronto with my best friend because her husband was getting an award. I went on the book tour for 2 weeks, which was one of the craziest, scariest, unbelievable things I've ever gotten to experience. I had so many fears about going on this book tour all by myself. I was terrified of doing it, and then it ended up being one of the coolest, most amazing experiences I've ever gotten to do. I got to hug hundreds of people and people all across the U.S., in places all across the U.S., awesome cities. Some of my favorite cities being in Arizona, in Texas, getting to visit places I'd never been to before, like Connecticut, and meet and connect with all these people who love keto and are into low carb and get to go there, share my passion, talk all about my book, Keto Essentials, my absolute labor of love, and getting to go and connect and meet with so many amazing people was just such a thrill. Anyway, got to do the book tour. After the book tour, we ended it in San Francisco, where I hung out with Suzanne, Keto Karma, one of my favorite people, and Dr. John Lemansky, who was also living in San Francisco at the time, who came to my book signing. And then,
hello!
Oh my gosh! The doorbell was ringing.
Really? Oh, like it does sound like that, huh?
Doorbell sound that went off when you joined.
You're like, hello, anyone at the door? Can you hear me okay now?
The virtual door, yes. I am recording, I'm recapping, speaking of recapping and reliving experiences, how amazing my fall was last year, because I went on my book tour, we ended it, went to Disneyland. First time. I've never been to any of the worlds or lands of Disney, and I got to go to Disneyland for the first time. Yay! California with my nieces who were losing their minds, and I was so skeptical about this trip. I was like, are we really going to Disneyland? Like, this is not my thing. I've never been to this kind of thing, and like I had the ears on every day. I was like fully Disneyed out. Have you ever been to Disneyland?
I've been to the one in Florida when I was like...
That one apparently is even more epic. I was at like the junior one, which is a good place to start, you know? Just get...
The Europe one is a good place to start.
Euro Disney. I've heard many things about this place over the years. It's always been the butt of a joke for some reason, like Euro Paris, because I don't know if it failed or it's probably thriving now. It's probably doing what everyone thought it wouldn't do. But anyway, I had an incredible time at Disney World. Then we went to Thanksgiving in Colorado, and we were with all the family. And then we had the most epic Christmas. I mean, last fall was really one of the best falls of my entire life. But I was just explaining that this year was a little bit sad Thanksgiving because we were just here, the two of us. But it was because we were at Disney Low Carb. We were at the Low Carb Universe in
Low Carb Disney.
It was the Disney of low carb. I mean, we had the most amazing time there.
It's like all the famous people, characters, if you will, all the good food. Yeah.
It's like Disney. If you are into
all the sunshine too.
All the sunshine. A lot warmer than Prague or Zurich. Right before you joined, I was just going on and on about how much I love Zurich because you're joining us today. And what is the name of that burger place?
The Bite.
The Bite. Okay.
Yes.
If you guys are ever in Zurich in the next year or two, they'll probably still be around, I'm sure. We had so many good bites at the Bite. It was a fantastic burger place. They were really accommodating. The one that I haven't tried yet, though, is the one in Palma.
Yes.
That you go to, where they take money off if you don't get the bun.
I know. It's beautiful.
This is a revolutionary. Like, why is this not happening? Why am I like paying the same amount as people who are getting fries and a bun? Like, there's so many times I go to a restaurant, I don't even order a burger, even though it's on the menu, because I know that I'm going to be paying all this money for fries and bun that I'm not going to get. So instead, I'll just go with like a piece of meat that I can get on its own, or like with a side salad. I just love that place does it. It's, what is it called again?
La Nueva Burguesa.
Yeah, we're just promoting all the burger places across Europe.
This is what we do now. This is what we do in the show. We promote burgers.
Yes, promote burgers. But we had such amazing food. I had such an amazing time at Low Carb Universe this year that I had to have you on to recap it, just so I can relive the entire week in my mind, because it's so much fun. But speaking of burgers, I think we kicked off the first day with bunless burgers. Like, I showed up to lunch and the hot bar just had like 100, or I don't know, maybe 50 bunless burgers with cheese on them. And I was like, I've arrived in heaven. Like, this is legitimately keto heaven.
This is where I'm supposed to be.
Yes. It was amazing. Just to kick off, I think it was maybe on day 1 or 2.
Yeah, I think so.
But yeah, we're going to talk about some of our highlights, some of our takeaways from the event, how the schedule went, how it all went down, some of the people who were there. And I know that you and Bita did a really good recap if anyone wants to listen on your podcast, and you talked about some of your highlights. But I want to talk a little bit more about like what some of your actual takeaways were from it. Now that we've had a little bit of time to process everything down, and you and I were chatting a little bit after, and I was telling you this, and I'm going to repeat it because it's true, but there's so many events that you go to that are transactions. They're transactional, and you go and you pay for an experience, you have an experience to leave, but there are also transformational events. And to me, that's what your guys' events are like. I had also had that kind of experience at KetoCon. I felt like it was very transformational in lots of different ways. But the way that you guys do things with Low Carb Universe, I think everyone walks away with not only so many friends, but I said I'm not the same person this week than I was, before going there. And so much of it has to do with what you guys create.
Thank you. That's really kind. And I have to say that is something, because we did chat about it before, that is something that I'm going to carry with me for a long, long time, because that is our new goal. Before it was just to organize events and then have a good time and make sure that everyone is doing all right and everything. But now it's actually, okay, let's make this actually into something fantastic and transformational and really change people's lives. And it's a little bit weird because that's not at all how it started out. But that is sort of what it has become. And us two are not the only ones who've talked about it or had that conversation. And that's kind of interesting.
I'm getting goosebumps. Like, I don't know if you can see these, but like
I can see them
all over, because there's so many layers, that you can apply, and that especially when you're creating experiences for people and there's something synergistic that happens where something occurs that's greater than just the sum of its parts, like 1 + 2 = 4 or 5 or 10, or it's bringing together, especially at your events, because you curate the speakers so well. You have all these people who are so knowledgeable, so experienced. And Belinda put this so well. I was talking to her after the conference, said one of the things that makes our community so great is it's a community of givers. And she's so right about that. There's so many people in this community who are giving all the time, and that's part of what creates this transformational experience. But with you guys, there's all these layers too that like you can keep adding as the years, like as the events go. Each time you're getting feedback from people, and then you're adding more layers of this and that, and like, you're producing an experience from start to finish, and you feel when you're there that you guys are kind of carrying us along the way with everything. But it's not in a strictly scheduled way, because you have also built in all this flexibility and time for personal growth.
Yeah, and we think that's very important, because most of other events are very structured, and they're from 8 o'clock in the morning till 5 o'clock at night, and you have no time to breathe or let alone go to the bathroom in between without missing anything. But we really make sure that the schedule has a bit of air and fluff to it, so that you have time for everything that you want to do. And we want to make sure that you have time to digest all the information, but also socialize and network with all the people who are there, because that's essentially what you're there for. I mean, if you know the basics of keto, the information isn't maybe always revolutionary to you, although there were some revolutionary ones this year as well. But at the same time, you're there to experience and to be with the people, and to find new collaborations or new networks or new people to follow, or stuff like that. And I think that's really important. And I think it also is, you were mentioning the feedback and how we work with that and stuff like that. And I think that's really important that we actually don't assume that we are good at this. We have to assume that we have always something to learn. There's always something new to do, or something we can tweak, or something we can do better, or change, or improve, or, stuff like that. So I don't think we'll ever be truly happy with our events. We're always going to see that little bit of like, yeah, but that we could do a little bit of that, or we could, have something different there, or we could have stuff like that. But that being said, we are super happy, still tired, and probably still a little bit sick after the event.
I think that just shows, I saw you guys on the last day, and I mean, I don't want to
probably crying in a hotel lobby. It's beautiful.
Yeah, you guys looked like you were done. Like, stick a fork in me, I'm done. Like, and I was just the whole few days, like a few days after the event happened, I kept thinking about you, and I was like, that must have taken so much energy. And, so much goes into the event. Like, you're thinking about it, you're planning about it, it's never not in your consciousness when you have something like that coming up. But to see how much you guys put into it, and so much probably behind the scenes too that we are not aware of, because we're just there like enjoying, like Disneyland, like enjoying the rides. And then in the background there's like all the people who are going into the magic, making the magic happen.
Yeah.
But what were like maybe your top 3 highlights, like from the week?
Wow. I think number 1 is definitely seeing all the fantastic people in one place. We spend so much time. I mean, this is not only a 1-year project, but this has been going on since 2015. Basically, we've been planning, it was first our first event, and then we had Keto Ladies. Now we had our 3rd event, and it sort of all accumulates. All this planning since 2015 accumulates to this one event. And I think that was the most amazing part, to see people, from west coast of the US to Australia and everything in between. And you're like, wow, this is unreal. This is the coolest thing ever. No, so that is definitely my biggest takeaway, and the biggest wow moment from the whole thing. And then of course all you fantastic speakers who were there, just willing to share, and willing to share about your experiences and your findings and research, and all of these things. And you're like, oh my god, this community, like Belinda said, is so giving, and so what's the word when you give a lot? What's it called?
When you give a lot.
Yeah, like when you're very,
Santa Claus, generous.
Generous, that's what I'm looking for. See, I told you I'm tired still. Yeah, it's such a generous community of people, and to me, it's incredible. It's incredible, and I can't help but be so thankful and grateful and just in awe of everyone in this community, because it's just such a fantastic feeling to be among everyone, really.
That is the best part. I mean, we talk a lot about the food because we're all really into
it's the food.
And we'll talk about that a little bit too, because it's fun. But we talk about the food and we talk about the content, but it really, at the end of the day, it is the people who are there and all the connections that you make, because this is one of the things that I like to go to by myself. Without my husband and I are kind of joined at the hip, and he's not super into all the keto stuff and low carb stuff and health. Like he finds it interesting, but not like on our level where you're geeking out like we are. So I like going to these kinds of things by myself. Like I was at KetoCon too, and when you're at an event by yourself, it pushes you so much harder to meet new people, to make new connections. So every time I go to your events, like I come back with 10 new friends or 20 new friends, because I'm there alone. I push myself, and everyone is so friendly. There's so much to talk about. It's so easy to connect with everyone, because you sit down with anyone and it's like, we have so much to talk about instantly. And you have all these in the flow conversations. You're connecting with so many like-minded people from all over the world. I mean, one of the highlights for me was actually meeting your friend who you brought there, Dr. Ali.
Yeah.
I'm going to totally butcher his last name, so if you could say it, it'd be great.
Alavati, I think. We'll go with that.
I mean, he was one of the highlights for me of the whole show,
Yeah.
just meeting him through you. And you and I and he like had a really, really natural like chemistry. I find like we just naturally connected, have a lot in common, and that's always nice. But it was so fascinating learning about what he's doing there, because he's a doctor in Oman. He's doing a low carb diet. He's a diabetic. And I had so many questions for him, because there are doctors around the world, like very famously Dr. Tim Noakes, Dr. Gary Fetke, who was at your event, who have been challenged on their medical credentials for giving dietary advice. So I said, but Ali didn't seem to have any like awareness of that happening. And so I was like, do you ever get pushback or challenged on this? And he was like, well, no, Oman is just such a new country that we don't even have food guidelines. It's like, when they do come.
Beautiful.
Yeah. It's like, wow. And he's like, and when they do come, we'll probably take them from like the UK or somewhere else. But he also told me that he might actually get to be a part of influencing the formation of them because of what he's doing, being so cutting edge and how they are. And they're just like, like you said, such a new nation like that.
And the results he's getting with his patients. I mean, it's incredible. And I really have goosebumps every time I talk to him. I'm like, wow. And this guy is so brilliant. He's so young and such a talent in so many ways. And you have to go to a Low Carb Universe to see what I mean. But
we had so much fun, you and I teasing him on how young he looks. He's like the Doogie Howser of Oman. And he said when he goes on his rounds, everyone thinks that his students are the doctor because he has such a young looking face. And he gave us all that great advice on looking young too. And I mean, obviously with him, it's a lot of his genetic, but it's also the fact that he's been doing low carb for like 20 years. And he looks fantastic. I mean, he looks like a very, very young man, even though he's a really well-established doctor. But I think I wrote down some of the tips. I'm going to have to get him on the podcast just to talk about his like youth.
His skincare tips.
Like he was like, they were just coming out while we were sitting there at lunch, but he had some really funny stories. And being in the US, I think at one point and trying to get into a bar or club, and they kind of were like, you're kidding me? Like, nice try.
12.
And he was married too, so they were like, this is your what? Hilarious. But that was one of the coolest things. And I mean, really, there were people from all over the world. So I think probably the most prestigious guests that you guys had were Gary and Belinda Fetke, came all the way from Tasmania.
Definitely.
Get them to come. Like, that's not an easy trip.
No, and they volunteered too.
Wow.
Actually, how we got Gary and Belinda there was actually she contacted me, and she was like, "Oh, my husband Gary and I'm like, "Oh, duh, yeah." Yeah. How about is it okay if we just come to your event and maybe we can talk or have a speech or whatever? And I'm like, let me think. Yes. Let me think for once. Yes. One other second. Yes. It's okay. Yeah. We will carve out some time for you. No, but we're super, super grateful that they made that journey all the way from Tasmania, from that little island to the little island of Mallorca. And we're just so happy. And they're such amazing people.
They are.
Wow.
It was like a stroke of genius that you guys had to invite them, especially because Gary just, was cleared of all these charges and everything.
That was good timing.
Yeah, it was like, wow. But how cool of them, that they wanted to fly halfway around the world to come to your event. I mean,
I know. I don't want to understand it, because then I don't know. I might break down.
It's too much to process.
I just can't handle it.
That's what I mean. There's so much incredible power in taking action and actually taking action on your dreams. And I think what you've done, you and Bitta together have done, is really, really inspiring for people, because you're self-made women, you're entrepreneurs, you're kicking butt at it. And, I followed your Instagram, I think for maybe a year or two before we actually got to meet. And, you know, I was like, oh, this Swedish.
Well, it is Swiss Swedish, so Swish. Cool. We'll go with that.
Swish. This Swedish, you know, diabetic educator, and I thought you were so adorable, and you're just like giving all this great advice, and I had no idea how hilarious you are, like that we'd have, you know, such a great connection when we actually got to meet in person. But to think of, you know, how I knew you then, and now fast forward a couple of years later, and you are the founder of this incredible event, bringing together people like Dr. Gary Fredke and his wife from Tasmania. It's just unbelievable. I mean, I know you had Dr. Westman there as well, but he had been at the first one, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's just incredible. And like you said, they're two of the most special people I've ever met. Someone, I did a little post with a photo of them that I shared after, and this woman on Twitter said that she had the opportunity to meet them, and she said, integrity oozing from every pore.
Yes.
And I couldn't have put it better. And like you said, generosity, and that was just a common theme of, I think, everyone who was there, you know, speaking. And yeah, they were, I think, probably the biggest highlights for me, but just in terms of speakers. But there were also some really great takeaways. And, you know, Maria Emmerich was so cool, not only to get to see her speak, but also to hang out with her. She inspired me. She was going in the sea every day. She was running, doing cold therapy in the pools, which I didn't even know you could do at the hotel. And then I you know, saw her doing it, and I thought about going in the ocean, didn't do it, but I did go to the pool by myself very dramatically, and it was awesome.
Yeah.
And then I went down to the hot therapy rooms in the spa after, which I also didn't know were there. And she was hanging out there with Craig and Luis Villasenor from Keto Gains.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. So just getting to like hang out with them in the pool and like talk about eating protein and stuff and eating higher levels of protein, I was like, you know, that wasn't part of the schedule, but
no.
It was a really cool experience, and it happened just because we're all there in this amazing setting.
Yeah, exactly. And that's also why we want to have it as a very inclusive event. So we haven't sold any day tickets or had day tickets available at all, because we want those kind of things to happen, you know, just these random interactions with people, you know, whether it is at the chill out area at the spa, or if it is at the bar at night, or, you know, learning something completely random about someone that you won't know if you're not, you know, there. So that's why, actually, that is a huge reason why we haven't sold any or made any day tickets available.
That makes sense. It's kind of like somewhere between a retreat and a conference in some ways.
Yeah. Yeah. No, and that's how we want to have it as well. It's all, we've basically taken certain parts of events that we've loved, and then we've added all of these things that we maybe have missed at other events and created something completely different. So in a little bit of, you know, business strategy thing, it is a bit of a blue ocean strategy, because we've turned it completely upside down. It's not, you know, jackhammering, you know, information into your skull. It's, you know, it's fine, digest it, go to the pool for a while, just let it, you know, sink in, let it, you know, just immerse yourself in the whole thing. And that's why we want to, I've actually stopped calling it a conference, because to me it is either a retreat or an event. And in my opinion, this is more of an event, and then Keto Ladies becomes more of a retreat, because that's even more, you know, that's even a smaller group, that's a more niched thing that, that becomes a different thing.
Exactly. And we're going to get to talk about Keto Ladies a little bit and preview some of it for people as well. I want to talk a little bit about some of your takeaways. Were there any things that, you know, in the last week and a half you kind of been oh, when that person said this, you know, in their presentation, it really resonated with me, or that like fired off this other part of my brain, something that kind of, you know, if you had a couple of takeaways and things that, you know, that stayed with you or changed you as a person, or, you know, added to your knowledge bank in some big way.
The first one, because also, of course, you opened the conference, but the first one was actually from you. And you said that the food pyramid is the biggest pyramid scheme there is. And I loved that, because that really puts everything, like, it's such a good perspective, and it puts everything into a completely different light, because that is, to me, having had a lot to do with the food pyramid for the past 33 plus years, that's exactly what it is. So thank you for that. That was a huge takeaway, and I will be using it, and of course, credit you, but I will be using it in the future too. So that's one. And then we keep going back to them, but the Fetke, seriously. They had some amazing stuff in their presentations, and just, I mean, as I said, when I thanked Belinda for her presentation, you know, if even half of that stuff that they presented is true, that actually, you know, I know it is true, but it just seems so unbelievable. Yeah. What forces and what powers have been ruling our food advice, sort of thing. And it's just, you know, it's just mind-boggling that that has been allowed to go on, and for so long. Yeah. Like, what is going on? What is happening?
It is probably the thing that kind of had the biggest impact on me in terms of my thinking. Yeah. My new perspective, you know, and Gary put it so well. He's like, you know, we need to know those countervailing forces that are out there. Why is this vegan message being, you know, propagated so aggressively? Why is this anti-meat phenomenon exist? Why is it there? And the fact that, as Belinda said, I mean, you have to watch her whole presentation. They're working on getting it online and everything. I'm not going to go into it, because you have to see it all from start.
Yeah. Yeah. It's an experience.
Yeah, she's actually going to put it all on a series of podcasts that she's going to record in sort of like chapters or segments, because it's such a volume of information. I mean, she had her whole presentation, and then she had a whole workshop, and she still was just kind of, you know, laying some of the groundwork out. But we'll all share when she puts it out. She'll have you know, a series that you can listen to. And I'm sure, you know, I was thinking, like, they should do a crowdfunding event or something and make a movie, a documentary about this, you know, because I think that's one way that you could really convey the information away, with like images and video, and show all this historical data that they have. And for anyone who doesn't know what I'm talking about, you'll see more when they come out with it. But yeah, that had one of the biggest impacts on me in terms of understanding more, you know, about why the food pyramid is the way it was. And it's so much greater and bigger than I ever realized. Yeah. So at the end of the day, the common theme is that it's profit, you know, and selling us cereal and grains and keeping us on this carb, you know, treadmill, keeping us in this high carb lifestyle is very, very profitable for a lot of people. And it's very sad that it is.
Yeah. Yeah, I completely agree. It's crazy. And that is really something that stuck with me. Of course, seriously, every single presentation that I managed to catch in a full length, because as you said, there are a few things going on backstage at these events. But anyway, every single one gave me something, and a little key forwards in a way. And I don't think there wasn't a single one where I was like, oh, okay, well, this is basic, you know. It was really something in every single presentation. It was like having it was a bit like the food at the buffet afterwards, you know, when we had lunch or dinner, you know, you just took a little bit of all the pieces that you liked, and then you're like, oh, okay, now I have a deeper understanding again. And I think that's I think that's an added bonus that you don't really realize when you, for example, it's not the same to watch people's talks online or missing these interpersonal connections that I've been yapping about the whole time. But I don't think it's the same without it.
Yeah, a big thrill for me was seeing Dr. Eric Westman, because I followed his work.
He's always good.
I had him on the podcast yesterday. He's so good at just distilling information down in a really simple way. And we had a really great conversation about, putting protein first and then how you build things out from there, but also like some of the lifestyle things that have to change too. Especially if you're coming from food addiction, you can't expect to just change the food. You have to also be changing your life, because if you, like, a lot of people come and see him and they go through these treatment programs, almost like going to a rehab, and then, you go home, your life is the same, and all those things that triggered you, to go to those things for comfort and for ease, for relief, are still there. So we talked about, well, how do you integrate and make these changes so that you lower your stress? Meditation is huge. And you and I got to do some yoga in one of the afternoons. And that's, again, one of the things I love about the format is the morning. I really found, and a lot of people seem to be doing this too because of how you guys organize it, but the morning, you get up, go down, watch presentation, have a break, chat with people, you can continue watching presentations, have lunch, and then in the afternoon, it's such an open, flexible thing where, like, you and I got to do yoga one day, and Julia was there too, and just to be in that beautiful space and get to do yoga for a little while, and then every day you had Daryl Edwards doing the primal play, like the movements every day, and actually, I would usually be on my deck studying in the afternoon when they were doing that, and I'd be looking down going, good for you guys.
Go.
Because there were like a few people who were going every day. I know Sarah was going every day, and some people really taking advantage of his, expertise and his enthusiasm for exercise and movement. And he did a great presentation on cancer.
Yeah.
And trying to think of more of my highlights. Megan did a great job presenting on some of their work that they've done with fasting, and right now she's really fired up about women and fasting, and she's doing like a whole blog series on that too, which is great. But it's always fun to get to see her and have her, just share anecdotes and stories, but also, how they do it exactly and in what way. And there's so many great benefits to fasting, and they get so much pushback from people.
They do.
And it astonishes me, because fasting is one of the oldest known cures for things in history. I mean, I know they get a lot of criticism for it, a lot of pushback, but I think that a lot of what they do is really helpful. And to me, the best thing that's come out of fasting is just learning that we don't have to eat all day.
Yeah. No, what I've learned from or through fasting, it's actually that eating is a very mental thing, and it's a very behavioral thing. And I thought, because I've been quite brainwashed into thinking that I need 5-6 meals a day as a diabetic, of course, but realizing that you're doing quite well on 2 meals or maybe even 1 meal a day, that was a huge revelation. And that I have a lot to thank them for, both Megan and Jason, for making me realize that it is it's a head game rather than a body game to fast. So that I find that fascinating.
That is so, so true. And I was telling Pete the other night, I came across this fun fact in a book that I'm reading. How often do you think that Romans ate under the Roman Empire?
Every couple of days, maybe? I don't know.
It's going to vary considerably depending on your socioeconomic class at that time, and in terms of access and food, but they did OMAD. And
really?
The author of this book, which is called Appetite Correction, it's by Bert Herring. It's an incredible book. He talks about all the different kinds of hunger that we have, and how you correct appetite, and it's fascinating. But he's like, you know, if Romans saw that we were eating 3 meals a day, they would think of this as total gluttony. And I mean, they were
Yeah.
known for being gluttonous, you know, it's pretty extreme. And then to think that, you know, I did in my presentation showing, you know, the post-absorptive state and how so few of us actually ever get into the post-absorptive state because we're always either eating or digesting something. And to think that's just using 3 meals a day. If you are doing snacks in between, you know, 6 times,
Yep.
you said, I remember being in university and there was that dogma. The more often you eat small meals throughout the day, oh, your metabolism is going to be through the roof. Like the more you
No,
eat,
your insulin is going to be through the roof. That's what's good through the roof, nothing else.
Exactly. So I really had it in my mind, like, hey, if I'm nibbling on these carrots, you know, those like little carrot snacks, if I'm nibbling on these all day, I mean, we're not meant to graze like that. And I love how Dr. Fung puts it. He's like, they actually tell us that the more you eat, the more weight you're going to lose, the more fat you're going to burn. He's like, it's actually the stupidest thing ever.
No, it's true. It is super stupid. And in what parallel weird universe does that make sense? And it's the same as you know, calories don't matter for keto. Uh-huh. Okay. Yeah. Where do they go? Like, where? I want to know, where do they go? No? Okay, and she left. Bye-bye.
I know. Where do they go? It's hilarious. I love how he says it's just, in what paradigm do you believe this? It's very simple. It's the one that we want to believe. Like,
yeah, that's true.
I believe this very convenient truth that the more I eat, the more I'm going to lose weight. So like, that sounds like it's brilliant. Like that is the right idea, right?
But did no one, when they said this out loud, like the first couple of times, did no one realize, like, wait a minute, like this sounds really dumb. Like I don't understand how they would have been like, super idea, let's write this down and put it in a guideline because that's what we need. We need people to like munch on stuff the whole time.
Yeah, it's just amazing, like how the things that we want to believe somehow just end up being easier to believe.
Yeah.
You know, it's the same thing with the calories don't matter. I think that it's been so interesting to unpack, you know, everything about metabolism and understand, like, just because this whole endocrine theory of fat loss and hormonal function and signaling is being understood now,
yeah.
It's actually just another piece of the puzzle. Yeah. And just because hormonal theory and hormonal regulation of fat loss is a fact, and I love learning more and more about it every day, it doesn't mean now that energy balance is nullified and no longer has any validity, right? Like they're both together.
Exactly. That's my theory too. It can't, just as, you know, eating 6 times a day will make you lose weight. Like, what? It's the same, you know, it can't be one or the other. It can't just be hormones, or it can't just be calories. It must be something that has both of those combined, because how else would it work?
Yeah, I mean,
fine, if you have like huge hormonal imbalances and stuff, yes, you will have weight issues. But also, if you eat, you know, 3 sticks of butter a day, you will also have weight issues. Like, exactly. That's just it.
I think the power really, I think you're absolutely right. And the power of it comes in combining the two, because when you understand that it's energy balance and it's hormonal signaling together, that's when you really see great effects. And why combining so many of these strategies, like for me, I know intermittent fasting and time restricted eating combined with low carb and keto has been so powerful that maybe doing one or the other on its own wouldn't be as powerful. And it's, you know, learning about all these different strategies and combining them.
And I think that's also where the power lies, just to draw this back to the actual event. I think that's where the power lies in learning these tools, because that gives you more options and more opportunities to find what really works for you. And you can try, you know, which you've done a fantastic job with eating more protein, for example, staying in ketosis, which, you know, no one thought would happen, but it did. Isn't that funny? But just, to show that that is also a way, or Louise doing the same thing. Louise eats a crap ton of protein every day, and he's still in ketosis, although that's not even the goal. But, there is always a way for everyone. It's just about finding it. And I think that is also a great value in this, because you get these like knickknacks of tools that you can just like, okay, well, this isn't working for me that well. Let's twist, let's change, let's do. And you also find the inspiration and energy to change things around.
Yeah, I mean, I loved packing on the protein at your event because there were so.
That Iberian ham was delicious.
Oh my gosh! The one that I was eating every day. And when I went to the airport, I was like, and now when I go in the store, I was like, I need to try and find this. The exact one that they were serving us, because it was so ridiculously good. I was like, they must be putting sugar in this or something, because it is just that tasty. And then, of course, I realized like where I was, and that's one of the really cool things about being at your events is it's the one time I don't have to ask those questions, and I don't have to be so hyper vigilant about things. And, eating out, when you do this kind of lifestyle and you get great results from it, you naturally start to cook more at home.
Yeah.
You eat out less because you're like, vegetable oils and trans fats and hidden sugars and hidden carbs. And it's not the restaurant's fault. They're trying to turn a profit and have people come back, and they're going to put MSG in things. They're going to do things in cheap ways. They're going to do things that make the food as delicious and as appealing to you as possible. So it's not their fault, but it does make eating out stressful, especially if like I'll get gluten in my food and then, I experience excruciating pain from it. Then I'm like, next time we're talking about going out, I'm like, well, let's just eat, maybe let's just eat it tonight. But at your events, it's a one time I really don't have to think about that, and no one does. Everyone can just relax. You walk up to the buffet, there's this incredible salad bar, there's all this delicious cheese, meats, and then you have, the hot bar buffet with different options every day, and it's just really clean, good low carb food.
Yeah, we want to show. Well, first of all, we have such fantastic support from the hotel itself that we are at. So our job is actually quite easy after the first sort of initiation process, to put it that way. But they are such geniuses, and they just do whatever we ask. And, we had one thing, I think one of the sauces, one of the days was, with sunflower oil or something like that. And we told them straight away, we're like, no, just lay off the crappy oils, And they're like, of course, what can we use instead? So they're super, super willing to learn, and they're happy to help and all this stuff. So they are amazing. But we want to show from our side that low carb can be super simple. Don't have to do anything difficult at all. If you don't want to, it can be really as simple as you make it. And we also want to make sure that that's why we control everything from what they put with the coffee to the mini bars in the rooms and everything. Just because if you want to, you can use this as a kickstart to either get back into low carb and keto, or start with it if you're a little bit curious. And that's why we are so, we want to have amazing food available, but nothing complicated that you can't make at home, because then it loses the whole appeal as well. Apart from the last night, which is the only time where there was extra sort of efforts made.
Yeah, and I mean, if I could just take every person who's ever afraid of doing low carb or confused about doing low carb and just walk them through the lunchroom at your events, not only would they understand it instantly that it's normal, it's totally normal, it's not a weird way of eating. I was talking to Dr. Westman about this because I watched this Dr. Oz YouTube video, and it was this football player was showing how he eats his keto diet, and they had this table with these huge, like almost vats, but like giant plastic containers of this like green oil. And they were like side by side, and then there was another one of cashews. And I was like, I've been doing keto for several years. I have never eaten anything like that. I don't know where they're getting their information from. It was absolutely disgusting. Like, it actually makes me kind of sick to think about. But you're not eating oil and cashews. Like, where did that come from? Like, no one is eating like that, especially if you're at our events. Like, you see, it's just low carb. It's like a healthy salad plate with healthy protein next to it. It's not a bizarre, weird thing. And I don't know why it's been made into a weird thing, or why it's presented as this weird thing, obscure thing. But anyone who came to your events and saw, and I try to post while I'm there, like, on my plates, and it's like, hey, look, you know, it's tuna with egg and salad, and it's like chicken with, or a bunless burger with some bacon and cheese and, you know, salad. Like, it's just really, really not. It's not hard. It's not hard to do. It's just really actually super, super simple.
Yeah, no, and I'm happy that's being conveyed in the right way then, because that's exactly what we want to, what our message is with the food, and that we make sure that there is, you know, it's not weird. It's just super simple. You can do it like this, and you can do it at home. It's just, you know, when you do go home after the event, you're like, but wait, I have to cook? This isn't fun. Where is my turn down service?
We all had Low Carb Universe withdrawal, like, majorly after, because it's, I mean, I could just live in that, like, bubble for the rest of my life. I mean, just getting up every day, going to hang out with amazing people, watching these presentations, eating that food, and you're in that setting of being in the island. So I'm already counting down to Keto Ladies in March. We're like 3-4 months away. So how are things going? How's the preparation for that? What can we expect from that?
This is, of course, our second edition of our All About Women from a Low Carb perspective. So what we feel is that women's health and women's hormones and everything like that, it's a little bit shoved aside when it comes to the world of keto. It is, you know, these football players that eat weird oils and cashew nuts, like what? Anyway, but women's health is sort of not really in focus. And we, of course, both Bit and I being women, we want to put it up front, right and center, everything there. Because of course it is difficult and different for women because of our hormones, and, you know, we have different, you know, mental things going on, and body image issues, and mind-body connection, and, you know, all of these things that we don't really have the opportunity to talk about too much. So we're packing everything into a long, big, fantastic weekend. And we have fantastic speakers such as yourself coming to join us and teach us more about how to do keto as women, and how we can maybe tweak a little bit more to get even healthier and even happier and even more gorgeous and young by staying keto. And maybe Ali will join us with his skincare tips.
Actually be amazing, and I feel like he would love it.
He is amazing. Yeah. Anyway, Keto Ladies is in March, and that is 7th to 10th. So we have a lot to celebrate that weekend, and I can't wait to do that with you.
I know. I was telling you guys, I just figured out that the hotel is a spa on this trip. Because last time I was only there for a short amount of time, and it's for lack of you guys explaining it, it's just I was only there for like a day and a half. But this year for March, I'm coming as early as I can again, and gonna stay after again. But I just love that it's a spa hotel, and that fits in so well just with the whole health theme and motif and everything. And I was so excited to see that Bitten is coming back from Bitten. Yes. Because I think actually from Keto Ladies last year, I think the two talks that everyone responded to the most, and I have no doubt this is why you've invited them back to speak, but Bitten and Jimenez talks, you know, I was telling you guys when I did the podcast with Bitten about sugar addiction, I couldn't believe the response. And it really, I mean, I've come from sugar addiction and food addiction, but I have a guide on my website and my ebook about going off sugar, but it's such a huge topic. And I didn't realize how much people need help with the actual addiction part of it, and the fact that she dedicates her being, you know, a former nurse, but she dedicates her whole practice just to this, like helping people actually end the addiction. And she brings in this other side to it that nobody else that I know in the space is really doing, you know. And Jimena, I guess those some of the speakers that you can kind of tease about.
Yeah, definitely. The three of you are a good power trio to lead with, because you guys are all so knowledgeable and you are so focused on, I know you also help men and all this stuff, but you're so focused on the female perspective. And I find that fascinating, and I find that very endearing. So I love to have, or we, Victor's not here, but we love to have you back, all three of you, because you made such an impact last year on the beautiful group that was there. And as you said, Bitten, and she's, by the way, the coolest woman ever. Like, she is style goals. Like, if I look like that when I grow up, I'll be happy. Like,
sometimes wonder if she's actually real. Like, I picture her in her garden. Like, she, whenever I talk to her, she's like, I just came inside from trimming my rose garden, and I was like trimming my roses that I'm growing, and like out in the fresh air, like in the, I just like have this vision of her almost like riding like a unicorn. Like, I don't know, she just is like so magical, and everyone who comes into contact with her feels that. Like, she's like a Swedish princess of sugar health, and she's so passionate. It's amazing.
Yeah. And just her, sorry?
I mean, she has that passion, and she has walked the path herself. She's been in the journey herself.
Yeah. Yeah, and just her presentation at the first Keto Ladies about how addiction of all sorts, just, it starts with sugar. And that was scary, because how many kids do you see around, I mean, in town or grocery stores or wherever, they're just being like bombarded with all kinds of sugar by their parents, and not just advertising, but by their parents. And you're like, whoa, you know, if you would know the full, would you still do this if you had heard Bitten speak about it? Would you still do the same, treat your kids the same? I'm not sure, but yeah. So
I really like that. It was a thing that stayed with me too, is she talked about this pathway that it creates neuronally in your brain, and this sugar pathway creates these synaptic connections that make all the other addictions, like alcohol, all these things, drugs, you know, and other addictions, they can light up that same pathway really easily. It's like creating a path in the snow, and it just creates that like segue so that those things can happen more easily. It's incredible.
Yeah, no, it's true. And that's also so interesting, because we try to, for every event, we try to find, what's the hottest topics within keto right now. But for this Keto Ladies, I find that we've done really, it is issues and questions that are primarily just female, and that's fine, but we also try to do it from different perspectives, because at the end of the day, we do believe that health is a very holistic thing, and it includes it's not just what we eat, and it's not just what we move or that we keep hydrated or whatever. It's also things like joy, like feeling good about yourself, like self-esteem, self-awareness, all of the stuff like really, really mixes in, and just knowing yourself a lot better, I think, is very crucial to health. And that is what we're trying to, get together with all you fantastic speakers that are joining us for Keto Ladies.
It sounds like a really beautiful intention just to have for the event, just knowing yourself better, understanding yourself better, and doing it in such a cool event space and everything. So I'm really excited. And you guys are only releasing 50 seats for this one. So
yes,
that's pretty exciting. It's going to be limited. So, if you're listening or you're watching and you're interested, I'll put the link to check out the event and get tickets and all of that in the show notes and links so that you can go and check out if you want to join us. And it's going to come pretty fast. I know, we all have pretty busy lifestyles, so the next 3-4 months, March will be here.
Yep. And don't forget, actually, this is something that we realized afterwards, is that, of course, it's a beautiful Christmas gift for someone that you care about. Maybe you will bring your mom along, or your sister, or your best friend, or aunt, or or even your husband if he's interested in women's health from a low carb perspective, and just make it a very nice, immersive weekend, but also a great Christmas present. I'd be so happy if someone got me a ticket. Now, no one needs to get me a ticket, but if someone did give
Seb, are you taking notes? Hanna wants to get to the keto ladies.
Yes, please help boost this a little bit now.
He's the one male that is at all the keto ladies events.
Poor guy. Yes.
Photographer too.
I need to somehow learn the tech part so I can do it myself. So he doesn't have to be there talking about, period pain and uterus issues and other things. He's like, I've got to go for a walk now.
I just need some male space. If I was him, I would just be like in the gym, getting a massage, going to the pool, walking the beach. I mean, it's such a beautiful place. And as I was telling you last year, Pete came and joined me at the end, and then we went around to see the rest of Mallorca. And I was like, well, we should have just stayed there because that was the best part of the whole island, and he didn't even get to see it. So this time, if he comes back down, I'm going to show him Puerto Solar. I mean, the whole island is amazing, and we had a really great time in Palma visiting the castle. The food there was incredible. I mean, Spanish food is so low carb and keto friendly with all the tapas and everything. And a lot of people, will stop in Barcelona. I know Sean and Steph, last time they went to, I think, Porto. They went to Lisbon after. It's a cool place if you want to take an extra week or something, and bring your partner with you or do something like that. So
yeah, that's a great idea.
Super cool. And I just love that Sean and I, I'm in Denver and she's in Boulder. It's like an hour away, and we're trying to meet up on my last visit there. But we both had a lot going on. She had a women's retreat that she was leading at that time, and we were like, why don't we just keep meeting in islands like in Spain and beautiful tropical islands, because we can't meet in Colorado. But I'll see you in Mallorca. So that we're going to try to catch up this time over Christmas when we're back. But yeah, if not, we'll see each other in the beautiful island of Mallorca, and I can't wait. It's going to be awesome. So thank you guys for putting all the time into organizing it. I loved recapping all of this with you because I feel like I just got to relive Disney, low carb Disney with you in my mind.
Yes. No, it's fantastic, and it's funny how quickly it passes. Why, of course, we have years of preparation behind us, and then all of a sudden, it's a little bit like planning a wedding. You plan, bam, 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 or any big party. You plan, and then in a couple hours, it's like, boop, gone.
Yeah.
Never to return again. And you're like, oh, wait, what? I missed it.
Is it all a dream? It must go really, really fast for you guys, being the organizers too, and doing all that stuff. Like it's hard for you to take kind of a break and just be there enjoying it passively like all the rest of us are.
That's what we do afterwards. But yeah, I have to thank you for being part of it too, because without us and without you, there would be no Low Carb Universe. So we're so happy to that you're part of our gang.
Yeah, thank you so much. Well, I hope you guys all enjoyed our recap of the event. I hope you can join us at future ones, and yeah, we'll put all the links for people to check out. So thanks for hanging with me today.
Thank you.